Happy Sunday. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. I hope you guys have had a great weekend, and it's time to start to get our brains flowing so that we are prepared for the market come Monday. And we do have some great things to talk about today because we have weekly expected moves. We have updated weekly expected moves completely free for the SPY and the Qs on this channel. We have monthly expected moves. Those are free on this channel. And we're updating all of those weekly and monthly expected moves over on Patreon. This is truly the time where you can get the most value out of Patreon is at the beginning of the month. And I'm going to really overdo that value by putting out a video talking about each individual monthly expected move and what are the most likely scenarios that I'm seeing that could play out throughout the month of December. So get it while it lasts. It's only $7 right now, so keep that in mind. And we're going to do some technical analysis today. We're going to do some technical analysis looking in intraday. I know we went over those bigger time frames over the weekend, but a lot can happen in between there. So we want to make sure we're seeing weakness in the shorter time frames to really prove if some of these things are going to happen. And that's what we're going to get into today as we do that technical analysis for the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, nvidia, AMD, and Meta. Maybe looking at some other stuff, but paying attention to AMC and GME, popping over to volatility, and let's get into it. First thing I wanted to point out was the fact that on your MACD down here for the SPY on the 30-minute, we were paying attention to divergence here. And you notice on the RSI, we have really violated that divergence, which you can read into, right? If it's during market, like this is a regular market hour stock, right? This is a regular market ETF. And so we have to pay attention to some of the price action that's going on mostly intraday. And that's just because I like the volume more on this. But every once in a while, you want to make sure that you're seeing the same thing here as you're seeing in the futures market. So the SPX 500, you want to be paying attention to this because this is, as you can see, having the higher highs. All of these blips here were technically not divergence because you're not beating out that high. But as you do, you see that little bit of weakness come. You see how we are holding that divergence. So we are holding that divergence here on the RSI at the same time. So there is still potential weakness here, but this is a 2-hour chart. So if that 2-hour can cross, and that's the big thing you need to understand here, this is not confirmed. This could be a whole new thing right now because this could be the first big push where we start to make those divergences in the future, and we'll pay attention to that because overall the trend is positive here. So just make sure you understand that this needs to confirm to really tell you that there's weakness there. We do have some smaller expected moves going into Monday, so that will be interesting. Now I wanted to still mainly focus on the SPY because that's what I mostly look at. That's what most people I think do pay attention to. Sometimes they use the XPX and the SPX 500, but we can notice that we have updated weekly expected moves. So 610.48 to the upside, 594.62 to the downside. Monthly expected moves, we have 618.48 to the upside and 586.62 to the downside. Now, all of these lines in here, they are our 68% zones for the week, for the month, and we use the options market to calculate this, and 32% of the time you will see something crazy. Okay, so now that we know that this isn't a 100% zone, what can we look for in these areas to give us a hint for the month of December? Well, if we get excited and get to one of them and we see some kind of reversal signal, we want to be paying attention to that. And that's what we're going to go over on Patreon in that update video. It's our monthly update video that I'm trying to do every single month. So what we need to watch early on is if that 30-minute crosses down. Now, this wouldn't necessarily be an overall super bearish thing right out the gate, okay? It's more if that SPX 500 is able to curl down that 2-hour. Maybe we see something in the pre-market, because if this is too much, when these ranges for the day are smaller, right? 605.11 to the upside, 599.99 to the downside. The bearish thing would be if we actually gap below this or we see some kind of quick move out of this that really just ends up surprising people and we end up to a weekly expected move, because that would be very surprising. And that does tend to happen when implied volatility is lower, which makes total sense. People aren't expecting it. And then a big move comes. Hey, that big move does something crazy. It makes total sense. So that would overall be the bearish case. And I think the bearish case is more so, hey, does the 2-hour follow? Does the SPX 500 curl down on the 2-hour? The 30-minute here is what I really want to pay attention to. Now, the 30-minute is what I want to pay attention to for bullishness, especially because we do have a great daily expected move right at the price point of about 600. We like whole numbers that can be support. It would retest some high and maybe even get some gap resistance in there, or gap support, sorry, in there. And we would maybe even test the 5-day moving average. So if we can pull back to this level and then turn up as we are overbought at this point, I think that would be be a good sign for us to head higher, right? Take out the high, go make a new one, and we're going to continue the positivity as we get up to these levels. If that does happen, it would be likely because you gravitate towards the weekly expected moves. Once you see that direction, you actually can go touch something like 610.48 if we see one more pullback to a move higher. So that's why I'd be paying attention to the SPY. Let's pop over to the Qs and see what else we can come up with here. The Qs, first of all, you just want to notice that the monthly expected move is 530.48 to the upside, and we do have 589 to the downside, 589 flat. We do have the weekly expected moves, 518.99 and 500.49 to the downside for the weekly. The daily got 513.01 and we got 506.47. Now, one key thing is this pink line. I just wanted to talk about this real quick because I didn't mention it in my video on Saturday. It's a great video to look at the bigger time frames just to make sure you like kind of see how things are performing, and then you can look for weakness in the shorter time frames and see what's adding up and which scenario is most likely to play out. That's how it's very, very beneficial in the course. That is actually, and that's only on sale till today, so you might want to get that while it's 90% off. It is today only. If you're new here and you have questions about it, you can show up to the live show, and we usually leave that sale for the live show up during it, so you can ask questions and make sure it's a good fit for you. But I just want you to pay attention to this because the monthly is outside of that annual expected move, and we do notice that we're making some potential bad weakness on the weekly scale outside of the annual expected move. Now, there's still a 32% chance to land up here and see something crazy, but if our monthly's down here and we end back in there, well, it would say there's a 68% chance to land by the end of the month right here. This is a great little area. There's a 68% chance to land right here by the end of the month, and it would make total sense for the annual expected move and the monthly expected move at the same time. Isn't that pretty cool? Now let's talk about how this thing can move up and how this thing can move down. So let's talk about how it can move up, because I'd actually like how the Qs look. We've reacted up to this level. We have a pretty basic neckline here, and we have a great daily expected move that could come down, reconnect with some moving averages, and then turn back up, giving you that left head and right shoulder. And wouldn't that be a very good way to actually head up towards a weekly expected move? Wouldn't that be fantastic? So I think that's a great one to pay attention to for bullishness. Where it starts to get bearish is, I believe, if you're actually able to curl over the 30-minute and actually close those below the daily expected move. And I think that's where we got to pull up the 2-hour and just say, if the 2-hour rolls down, that's more when things are going to get bearish, right? The 30-minute can turn down for a second, turn right back up. But if the 2-hour turns down, that's a little bit more momentum taking you down, and you get a follow through bar, you're probably ending up down towards a weekly expected move. So that's mainly what I would be paying attention to for the Qs, because if the 2-hour rotates down here and then you end up taking out this low, it's kind of looking like a continuation and maybe even the first real dip down into a negative trend. Apple was pretty good. I mean, it was very, very confusing in here. It's just that trickle up thing, and it really looked like this was the shape of the Q. So very interesting. What do we see that we need to be aware of early on in the week? Well, right away, we see this, right? We see the flat divergence. We see the divergence on the MACD and RSI at the same time. Has that confirmed? No, it hasn't. So Apple does have the opportunity to cross down on that 30-minute. That would suggest you are going to see a 2-hour. Where is that 2-hour as far as a MACD positioning perspective goes? Yeah, it's pretty high up, right? It still looks pretty positive. No real reversal signals in here. So if we wanted to pull back, that's when I can pay attention to a weekly expected move and go, okay, that thing's pulling back. Everyone gets bearish here. And then we just curl up into positive territory. So that's really what I think could be possible for Apple at this moment. If you really don't want that to happen, well, then you might just see a simple little 30-minute pullback that then turns up again, right, as we test quickly that 5-day moving average. But I think at this point for Apple, if you see weakness early on Monday, I think it's very likely to see a 2-hour pullback. Tesla giving you that double top, or is it some kind of consolidation to actually break through and head higher? And that's where you're really going to know if that 2-hour can confirm that momentum. Then you have a good shot to break this high, go make a new one. Now, where could that be? Everyone always asks that question. Where could that be? Well, I'm not going to throw out a random number and look over. I could go look over at support and resistance levels and things like that. Or if I'm taking a trade this week, I can just say, hey, a weekly expected move. It's most likely to gravitate to some area like this. And that's the good part about those weekly expected moves. They can help you take profit on an intra-week basis. Now, we do notice that the 2-hour divergence was here. Did that confirm in daily? Yes, it did. So there is some likelihood that this doesn't continue and daily momentum is going to take over after that Friday squeeze. And we're actually going to see a further pullback for Tesla. You want to pay attention to that because the 2-hour hasn't confirmed yet and it's right by negative territory. So if this just rejects again, cuts through this low, cuts this one too, you're probably going to be at a weekly expected move at that point. You might just be in that daily pullback still at this moment, and we need to watch out for more reversal signals from the 2-hour at that point for Tesla. Amazon, if you are subscribed for this channel, then give yourself a thumbs up, big pat on the back, and thank you so much for being subscribed because you were paying attention to the fact that we were talking about divergences down here on the 30-minute that could turn up the 2-hour if we could see nothing bad happen right here. And nothing bad happened. We gapped up. We're able to take back the 5-day moving average. We're able to go positive. Everything looks good here. And it really looks like Amazon is gearing up for the next move higher, a confirmation of that move. Hey, look at this. We pull back with time right as we hit that gap resistance. That's fantastic. And then we can see if that's able to maybe even turn down and test the 5 before it turns up. But the main thing is, does it confirm up on a 30-minute? That would make some more positivity. And then we can watch out for weekly expected moves. Now we do notice a 2-hour here. If we're going to give this up and this isn't some kind of turn up and we want to turn, the daily MACD has crossed for Amazon. And that was very obvious to us with that 2-hour signal that likes to cross down daily MACDs, just like it happened in Tesla. It happened here for Amazon. We were paying attention to it. This is the reversal signal. We look for that bounce. And now we rejected that cross down as of right now. So if we get some random sell-off or something and this crosses, then the likelihood to drop down is there, but we got to watch out for a 2-hour divergence in case that pops up. So there could be a reversal signal in there. There's no real weakness on the 30-minute to say that is going to happen. So the most probable thing is you're going to most likely continue the trend for Amazon. Watch out as we fill that gap if you see divergence in the other way. So something you're paying attention to for Amazon is if you get a random drop from the 2-hour, yeah, that can turn down. That can be ugly. You're going into negative territory, but maybe you make a divergence for an opportunity. The other one would be, hey, this 30 minutes going to continue the trend. If it's not that good, we come up and fill a gap. I mean, that still would be a decent move, but if you do something like this and you cross down, you might actually confirm divergence that would be rather close to the center line. So that's what I'd be looking out for Amazon. nvidia has been great to us. We saw the daily divergence. We saw the weekly divergence. We saw 2-hour divergence. We've seen a lot in this move. You can even see the 30-minute that we were paying attention to right there. So we noticed the 30-minute divergence is there. It drops down to lower levels. It goes below a weekly expected move last week, and we got updated weekly expected moves for NVIDIA. So if this is going to continue, you'd most likely react to that level. If it's not, you might drop down. Now, the reason that you have potential to drop down from here is because you don't have the best reversal signal. Now, while everyone was saying NVIDIA is going to tank, we were just like, well, just watch it, because if that turns around, they probably don't want to crash the market on Thanksgiving. And you have a reversal signal forming here. You have this 30-minute. That's why we pay attention before it crosses. Right? I pay attention before it crosses, and I mention it before it crosses because I want you to have that opportunity. And if you're not able to understand when to take that opportunity, that's what the course is for, and it's 90% off just for today, right? Just for today. If you have more questions, you can get it tomorrow morning, but this is going to be the end of it, guys. This is the cheapest you can get this course, and it really genuinely will benefit you because everyone else was saying crash here, and we were just saying watch if the 30-minute turns. We were still saying be open to the weekly crossing and something bad happening, but you're getting a bad, not necessarily the best, but you are getting a reversal signal that likes to turn up the 2-hour. Now, it's not on the RSI at the same time. That's why it's not the best. So you have to pay attention if we ever make some kind of dip down to grab buyers, some kind of dip down to make a divergence, to make that base a little bit stronger for NVIDIA. But something you want to pay attention to when you see 30-minute divergence is 2-hour. Was the 2-hour able to confirm up? Yes, it was. So NVIDIA is saying to us, hey, I'm just getting started. I'm trying to take back the 5. Maybe I can go up towards 141.12. And we want to pay attention if there's any 30-minute divergences this week in this move, because that could be a left, a head, and a right shoulder. Just because we're like, hey, there could be a correction that leads to a Santa rally doesn't mean we can't go through something bad in December. I already showed you, you're outside of an annual expected move for the Qs. and you do have some reversal signals there. So nvidia has big reversal signals on the weekly chart, and if you go up and make a lower high here, you got a big problem as far as structure goes, and the 2-hour is negative, right? That's pretty damn negative. So the likelihood of this actually going positive and like going up and taking out these highs and making a new one, it's possible, but is it the most probable thing? No, the most probable thing is you get a lower high, you get excited above 140, 112, you make a reversal signal like we did the last time, right? Like we did over here going into the end of October, and then you see something bad happen. So just be cautious with this. Watch for 30-minute divergences in these moves, and watch out because this is most likely to be a lower high. If that changes, we will notify you. One stock that could see some positivity with this kind of signal is AMD. And thank you so much, Seth, for subscribing. Dang it, I forgot to turn it off again. Okay, well, thank you guys for subscribing. That's awesome. And thank you guys for liking the channel so more people can see this information. We do notice the first divergence point we were talking about. We just said, hey, that is not on the MACD at the same time. And notice this, it had to go back down. It set up another lower high. We just talked about NVIDIA having the same thing on a 30-minute. It's on the MACD. It is not on the RSI at the same time for NVIDIA. That's why we're talking about a lower high for NVIDIA. That's what happened to AMD. It's the most probable thing to happen, and that's why I mention it. If it changes, then we'll mention it in these videos. But we do notice that 2-hour was able to cross back down. Now, when that 2-hour crossed back down, we were already saying, hey, this could be a lower high, so watch if it makes another dip down, and then pay attention to the next divergence if it creates one. We notice now you have triple divergence on the MACD, and you actually have the divergence on the RSI. Has it confirmed? On the RSI, it really looks like it has, but I like the MACD confirmation, right? I like that MACD to confirm because that says, hey, yeah, I'm the lagging indicator, and I'm going into a positive trend. We're never trying to catch the exact bottom. We're trying to catch when someone has created a bottom and push that momentum up and people start making their money behind it, and then we take the opportunity and ride that wave. That has not confirmed yet for AMD, but this signal is likely to turn up a daily chart, so you could have a daily bounce out of AMD very soon. Now, we do notice the 30-minute in the near price action. If we need to make another dip down, would make sense, because you don't necessarily have divergence here for the 30-minute in the near price action. So as we're not able to take back the 5, the bearish thing I would pay attention to for AMD is if that crosses down on the MACD, and we cross down for just a moment, maybe to make some kind of double bottom. This is where having a weekly expected move, if it's only 4 points and we go like that, you can say, okay, that's a weekly expected move, bounce from that level, good support from that level, and I created divergence on the RSI, on the MACD at the same time. Those look like the opportunities for AMD going forward into this week. Meta is one that's a little bit more worrisome. You were able to get above this high, not going to make that right handle just yet, right? If we're excited, we can still make that handle and turn back up after we test the 5. But this is a very blatant reversal signal. It has not confirmed, but I want you to see it before it happens, because if you see this curl down on Monday and you just see a 30-minute cross, the most likely thing to happen is your 2-hour is going to curl down. Where's the 2-hour? Well, it's still pretty close to negative territory. I think a higher low would be a little bit more likely because you have good liquidity in here, probably some good liquidity all in these lows. So something I'd pay attention to is, hey, the 2-hour crossing, that's bad. That could go negative. But if I see a 30-minute divergence or something like that, maybe that's able to whip back around, okay? So it doesn't look the best as of if we get some negativity early on in the week. If you're not seeing any of those signals, right, you're just seeing, hey, the MACD's curled up, well, that's positive, so that positivity can continue. The 30-minute, that's positive, that positivity can continue. I'm just making you aware that does have the potential for weakness if this crosses over on the MACD. Speaking of weakness, AMC does have weakness and momentum here. This is very likely to curl down a 2-hour chart with this kind of look, right? I know we all want this thing to go up. I know that's great. And we're all holding on to it. And we're like, yeah, we want AMC to go to the sky. We want it to go to the moon. But these are weakness in momentum signals that you need to pay attention to. And that did confirm last week. Now, this is closing at higher levels than usually they would like it to close at 450 every single week. Notice they were able to push it below $5. We have a very obvious level. So you already know, okay, now I need to pay attention to weakness. What could this mean? This could mean 2-hour pull back. right? This doesn't have to mean awful things anymore because you don't see divergence in that near term for the 2 hour for AMC. So this could be a pullback that really scares people out. Maybe you have a weekly expected move or something like that, and then it turns up into positive territory. The crazy thing about this is the implied move for AMC made a great level for you, right? We give away where the overall gamma squeeze could start to take place every single week, and that does change for us every single week. We really pay attention to what the option market is saying in AMC, and 550, right? It's 550 right on the dot. So if you want to see something crazy, one, you don't want these signals to, as of right now, they're leaning towards a 2 hour pullback. A 2 hour pullback is the most likely thing for AMC, but if it can remain positive on the 2 hour and not curl down, then you would start to look for, hey, maybe a move towards 550 can happen. If there's reversal signals there, you need to pay attention. But it does mean if you close above 550 one of these days early on in the week, you do have a good shot to see some gamma squeeze take over for AMC. Now we do pop over to GME. We notice that the key level to pay attention to, and there's my note for earnings, right? 33.28 if you want to see something crazy. Now the bad thing about GME is look at this 2 hour signal. You do have a 2 hour across the way, pretty much multiple point divergence here, and you notice that that has confirmed. So that can lead to a daily pullback. I want to be honest with you guys. I want this thing to go up. I'm right there with you, but I have to tell it how it is. And right now your MACD is way up there. You're seeing 2 hour divergence. So one of the most likely things for GME is to see a daily pullback before earnings. And I just want you to be aware of that. All right, we're not going to sugarcoat it. But if we go into the 30 minute, we can see that's still close enough to positive territory. So if you really want to get bullish on GME, you got to see that 30 minute turn up. Right now, you do have a daily that's positive. You have a 2 hour that's crossed down. That's bad. And you have a 30 minute that's crossed down, and that's bad. So what do you need to see it positive? You need a 30 minute to be positive, you need a 2 hour to be positive, and you need a daily to be positive at the same time. If you have that little recipe and you make a move above 33.28, you can start to potentially see a gamma squeeze. The VIX, this is what I'd be paying attention to right away. Well, we noticed that when we saw a little divergence in here, we got a big move from volatility. We notice we have that signal forming very tightly right now. So if the 2 hour is able to turn up, this is why you got to pay attention to negativity early on in the week. It's just because if volatility is able to curl up this 2 hour, it might be more than just a 30 minute pullback to a daily expected move for the SPY. So pay attention to if volatility turns up here. It is pretty close to going positive. That can curl up a daily chart. The daily chart would have divergence here as well. So you do have potential for reversal signals for volatility to go up here. And that's at the same time you're seeing that 2 hour divergence in the futures market for the SPX 500. So just something to be very aware of. Now, we have still curled down on the weekly chart. We're still in positive territory. So if we're just going to keep squeezing, it would make total sense as well. End up down towards 1212. This is where managing risk will really help you out. The main signals I'd pay attention to are the 2 hour right here, if that's able to turn up. And then if we do one more thing, and that would be if this 2 hour is able to turn up the daily or even the 4 hour chart. We notice there is a massive divergence right here between these lows. There's not, it's really ending at the low here, so that most likely continues. But if we see a random turn up and Friday was some kind of crazy trap, you would have that divergence on the MACD and RSI at the same time for the 4 hour. You have a 2 hour divergence on the MACD and RSI for the near term right here that can turn up that 4 hour. So pay attention to volatility. It could come in early on in the week, or we could keep squeezing, but these are the signals you want to watch out for in case things get a little bit crazy. Little note here before we give the main takeaway, I am going to be paying attention to Bitcoin throughout the day because this could give us a hint of what is to come. And something I'm going to watch out for is a little 2 hour divergence. And I will post this to Patreon if it shows me any kind of weakness, because this has a great bullish and bearish case. You are consolidating in this area back over to the 5, and you could see that move higher. And if that can exceed these levels, really not make any kind of divergence on your MACD and RSI at the same time, then we can see more upside. The 4 hour chart is starting to curl back up, and this is what I wanted to pay attention to, the fact that this could be some kind of consolidation to actually head higher, and I think this could give us a hint. But the main takeaway is there's potential for this to be a trap. There's potential that we keep going and make it a bigger trap throughout December as people get more and more bullish, and just know that craziness can't continue. But we are seeing some stocks give reversal signals. We are seeing weekly signals on nvidia. We are seeing 2-hour signals on the futures for the SPX 500. So we need to be paying attention to those things this week. And we know how this stuff can move up. We know how it can move down. And now we can just apply everything kind of this week and see what's going to happen and see how we need to react. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will be watching stocks with you every single morning of this week. I believe the only day I might have a little bit of trouble making a YouTube video this week will be Tuesday, just to make you aware of that. And I will be putting out everything on Patreon tonight. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found something helpful in this video, and I look forward to seeing you guys throughout this week. Good luck with all your trades, and I will see you Monday. Peace out.